Who's charging her with that murder? Well, the charges have been brought on by the Plymouth County District Attorney's Office, and that's where another major conspiracy theory comes into play. A viewer came directly to me with this, sending me a TikTok and writing, "Girl, did you see this?" Well, the video she sent me was an explainer saying that the person who now owns the Clancy home previously worked for the Plymouth County District Attorney's Office, and that allegedly this person was conspiring with Patrick to frame Lindsay Clancy. Again, this is a conspiracy theory that has not been brought up in court or substantiated at all. The new homeowner is a man by the name of Michael Thippen. According to his LinkedIn, he was an ADA for Plymouth County between April 2016 and December 2018. To be clear, he started work there before Lindsay and Patrick were even married and ended work there 5 years before the children were killed. According to the New Haven Register, he now oversees Stark and Latica's criminal defense department and even has his own criminal practice. The Register reports he purchased the former Clancy home in January 2024 for $675,000.
The public record doesn't scream, it just sits there, a pre-trial hearing transcript from June 18, 2026, a motion for a jury view, a house at 47 Summer Street in Duxbury, Massachusetts. On paper, it's a scheduling dispute. In reality, it's the moment a county prosecutor stood up in open court and said something you almost never hear a district attorney's office say out loud. Not about a defendant, about a former prosecutor, about a house, about what everyone was supposed to ignore.
And the reason we know about all of this is because of the jury view. This is from a pre-trial hearing on June 18th, 2026.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. And what is your client's position in regards to the Commonwealth's motion for a view on this address?
The words are dry. The current homeowner is opposed to the motion. That's the official position. Michael Thippen, former Plymouth County Assistant District Attorney, current criminal defense attorney, did not want a jury walking through the home he purchased in January 2024. The same home where 1 year earlier 3 children were killed. The same home the prosecution itself needed the jury to see.
Thank you, Your Honor. The current homeowner is opposed to the motion. The current homeowner did give the Commonwealth access to the property. They had unlimited time to photograph, measure, examine the property. The homeowner has felt like he has gone sort of out of his way to be accommodating to this point in the hopes that it wouldn't involve folks sort of arriving at the home. It would be massively disruptive to the homeowner. Your Honor certainly well knows, and I know from my prior employment, that a view is an event. I don't want to call it a circus, it's not a fair word, but it's an event. A bus shows up.
Think of a deed filed with the Registry of Deeds. It's a record of a transaction, a buyer, a seller, a price, $675,000. That's what the New Haven Register reported Thippen paid for the former Clancy home. Now picture that deed sitting on a desk inside the Plymouth County District Attorney's office. Not hidden, just not mentioned. Not until the prosecution needed the house back.
Disturbing. This is more than 5 years after he left the office, by the way. This thought is completely undermining the ethics of the entire Plymouth County DA's office. And you can feel however you want about the prosecution in this case, but one thing you can't deny is that they were heated when Michael Thippen's attorney didn't want to show his home as part of the jury view.
Your Honor, we did go in with the homeowner's permission to take photographs.
Then the prosecutor speaks. Your Honor, we did go in with the homeowner's permission to take photographs, to take measurements. The tone shifts. This is no longer a routine motion. The prosecution is now explaining to a judge why a jury needs to stand in the basement where these children were executed one by one, why they need to see the distance to the bedroom, why they need to look out the window Lindsay Clancy dropped from. The house itself is evidence.
Take measurements, however, seeing something in person, seeing how things relate to each other, how long it takes to get from the basement where these children were executed one by one up to the bedroom where the defendant went after doing so. Seeing the height from the window that she dropped down to, seeing how low that window is from the perspective from the ground is something that the jury is entitled to see in person. And I find it very disingenuous of the home.
And then the line. I find it very disingenuous of the homeowner who's an attorney. And not only is he an attorney, he was a prosecutor in our office. That's not a legal argument. That's an accusation of bad faith. One former prosecutor calling out another. Not because of what Thippen did during his time at the DA's office. Because of what he bought after he left it.
Homeowner who's an attorney. And not only is he an attorney, he was a prosecutor in our office. So he knows how we handle cases. He knows how we do trials. And now he's a defense attorney in this county who works with our office. So he knows how things work. And he bought...
So he knows how we handle cases. He knows how we do trials. And now he's a defense attorney in this county who works with our office. So he knows how things work. The implication is unmissable. The prosecution is suggesting that Thippen, a former insider, bought the house knowing exactly what it would become. A crime scene. A piece of evidence. A problem. And then, when the problem arrived, he didn't want to cooperate. The paperwork already knew.
This house after the horrific murder of 3 children occurred in that house, knowing that there would be abuse someday. So I find it very disingenuous that at this point he's concerned about his privacy.
And he bought this house after the horrific murder of 3 children occurred in that house, knowing that there would be abuse someday. Knowing there would be a view. Knowing the jury would have to walk through. That's the accusation. Not conspiracy, not cover up, but something quieter, more uncomfortable. The purchase of a house where children died, made by a man who used to work for the same office, now prosecuting the woman who killed them.
Comes into play. A viewer came directly to me with this, sending me a TikTok and writing, "Girl, did you see this?" Well, the video she sent me was an explainer saying that the person who now owns the Clancy home previously worked for the Plymouth County District Attorney's Office, and that allegedly this person was conspiring with Patrick to frame Lindsay Clancy. Again,
the online theory machine seized on this immediately. A viewer sent a TikTok. "Girl, did you see this?" The video claimed the person who now owns the Clancy home previously worked for the Plymouth County District Attorney's Office, and that this person was conspiring with Patrick Clancy to frame Lindsay Clancy. No evidence, no court filing, no testimony, just the proximity, a former prosecutor, a house, a trial, and the internet did what the internet does.
This is a conspiracy theory that has not been brought up in court or substantiated at all. The new homeowner is a man by the name of Michael Thippen. According to his LinkedIn, he was an ADA for Plymouth County between April 2016 and December 2018. To be clear, he started work there before Lindsay and Patrick were even married and ended work there 5 years before the children were killed.
The facts are less cinematic. According to his LinkedIn, Michael Thippen was an ADA for Plymouth County between April 2016 and December 2018. He started work there before Lindsay and Patrick were even married. He ended work there 5 years before the children were killed. Then he became a criminal defense attorney. Then he bought the house. The timeline doesn't support the theory, but it does support something else, a question about comfort.
Again, this is one of those creating something out of nothing. When you think about it, why Patrick Clancy sold the house, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. You do not want to step foot in the place where your 3 kids were killed. You do not want to be walking into their bedroom every single day looking that they're not there and they're never coming back. So the fact that it's a Plymouth County District, former ADA in Plymouth County is just...
Why would someone buy a house where 3 children were strangled? The defense attorney in the transcript offers the simplest answer. You do not want to step foot in the place where your 3 kids were killed. Patrick Clancy sold it because he couldn't live there. Michael Thippen bought it because he could. That doesn't make him guilty of anything, but it does make him interesting. And in this case, interesting is enough to fuel 100 comment sections.
A coincidence. I'm sure that DA probably got a big discount because of what happened, because you have to disclose that when you're selling the house. Oh, by the way, 3 kids were killed here. And somebody, a Plymouth district attorney, houses in Duxbury are exceptionally expensive. And so he's thinking like, well, get it at a discount. It's not like he's got to cover up the evidence to make sure that she's actually held responsible. No, it's just a coincidence. Sometimes that's just what happened.
And, to your point, I live in Massachusetts. I have been house hunting, and I researched it, and I believe he purchased the home for $675,000.
And the price? $675,000 for Duxbury, Massachusetts, one of the most affluent towns on the South Shore. The defense attorney calls it a steal. By the way, 3 kids were killed here. The disclosure requirement, the discount. The man who bought it was a former prosecutor and now a defense attorney. He knew the system. He knew the value. He knew what the house was. The paperwork already knew.
So Seeing the height from the window that she dropped down to, seeing how low that window is from the perspective from the ground, is something that the jury is entitled to see in person. And I find it very disingenuous of the homeowner, who's an attorney. And not only is he an attorney, he was a prosecutor in our office, so he knows how we handle cases. He knows how we do trials. And now he's a defense attorney in this county who works with our office, so he knows how things work. And he bought this house after the horrific murder of 3 children occurred in that house, knowing that there would be abuse someday. So I find it very disingenuous that at this point he's concerned about his privacy.
But the prosecution's fury wasn't really about the house. It was about access. Seeing something in person, seeing how things relate to each other, how long it takes to get from the basement where executed one by one up to the bedroom where the defendant went after doing so. That's what a jury view does. It replaces abstract testimony with physical reality. The prosecution needed the jury to feel the space, to understand the timeline, to walk the same path.
So I would ask that the motion be allowed.
We know what the judge ultimately decided, as a jury view of the home was held on July 31st. Theory after
The judge ultimately ruled in the prosecution's favor. The jury view was held on July 31st. But the transcript of that June hearing remains, a public record of a public argument, not about guilt or innocence, about who gets to stand in a house where children died, and who wanted to keep them out.
I'm really not. Having done this for 5+ years, every case where there's big publicity, content creators are always going to try to push some conspiracy because that's what generates clicks and cash. You saw it on the Karen Reed case, Richard Delphi, every single case. And then, so now the newest one is Patrick Clancy allegedly killed his children and then framed his wife, gaslit his wife into.
The broader problem is the conspiracy economy itself. The transcript includes a criminal defense attorney saying it directly. Content creators are always going to try to push conspiracy because that's what generates clicks and cash. He names other cases: Karen Reed, Richard Delphi. The pattern repeats. A real case, a real tragedy, then a layer of speculation that becomes more compelling than the evidence. Not because it's true, because it's profitable.
It was, so when you think of what actually happened, you're thinking, where did this conspiracy come from? As you always, it came from online. It didn't come from inside the courtroom. The defense is not contesting that Lindsay Clancy killed her kids. The defendant herself has admitted to it. The prosecution is claiming as such. The Patrick Clancy, everybody who was actually involved in the trial is saying the same thing. And you think Kevin Reddington, one of the best criminal defense lawyers in the Commonwealth, if he had that and he thought it was reasonable, wouldn't he use that in the case to potentially get his client an acquittal if he actually believes she was innocent? No, he knows.
And the central conspiracy theory here is simple: that Patrick Clancy killed the children and framed his wife. That he gaslit Lindsay into thinking she did it. But the transcript is blunt. The defense is not contesting that Lindsay Clancy killed her kids. The defendant herself has admitted to it. The prosecution says it. The defense says it. Lindsay Clancy says it. Everyone in the courtroom agrees on the basic fact. Only the internet disagrees.
No, because when you're investigating a crime from law enforcement perspective, then when it actually gets to us, the attorneys, you're like, okay, what are other possible theories? Let's make sure that before we actually plead not guilty by reason of insanity, which is the defense lawyer saying my client did it, but she should be found not guilty by reason of diminished capacity. So if we want to go make a legally blonde reference, mens rea is what is needed. Negating mens rea is what is required to get a not guilty by reason of insanity. Meaning that the mental illness that she possessed at the time of the incident substantially impaired her ability to know right from wrong. So if you actually thought, if your defense story, that your client didn't commit it, you would be arguing somebody else, like a plan B, like blame the husband or something.
The defense attorney puts it in legal terms. If Kevin Renton, one of the best criminal defense lawyers in the Commonwealth, believed Patrick Clancy was involved, he would have argued it. He didn't. He argued insanity, diminished capacity, negating mens rea. That's the legal standard. The mental illness substantially impaired her ability to know right from wrong. That's the only defense being offered. Not, someone else did it. She did it. but she wasn't responsible.
What has created this idea that everything is a conspiracy, because if something is like, oh, this person did it or whatever, that doesn't get people to click on your podcast. It doesn't get people to click on your blog. If people just keep scrolling, but if they're like, oh, wow, there's a mystery to be solved, I want to be the one who does it.
Yeah. And I mean, people are clicking on our conspiracy theory stories here on Law and Crime. I mean, I think this is the second or third story that I've done where I go through and I look at viewers send me DMs or comments or whatever, and they say, oh, here's the new theory. And we go through and...
So why does the internet keep generating theories? The transcript offers an answer. Confirmation bias. People find others who agree with them. Thousands of people think the same thing. I'm not the crazy one. And then the algorithm rewards it: more engagement, more content, more conspiracy. The truth is often boring. In most cases, the husband did it. But here, the husband didn't. The mother did, and the mother admitted it. That's not a mystery. That's a tragedy.
Thankfully, they're not online, so they're not seeing some of the things, and they'd be instructed, if they heard anything from their spouses or children, to disclose that. It's like, hey, just to let you know, my kid was online and he told me that this conspiracy, that it was Patrick Clancy. I wanted to make it known. I'm not looking, but he was. So thankfully, they're sequestered, meaning that they're not to look on social media. They're not reading the Boston Herald. They're not reading the Globe, not reading
The jury never saw any of this. They were sequestered. They weren't reading the Boston Herald. They weren't reading the Globe. They weren't on TikTok. They were in a courtroom, listening to testimony, taking notes. The transcript makes this clear. The jury only had two choices: guilty or not guilty by reason of insanity. No third option. No Patrick theory. No doppelganger. No former prosecutor conspiracy. The online universe didn't exist for them.
Yeah, I have to remind people that there is a major difference between the court of public opinion and then the justice system, the real court. And it's up to the jurors to decide the fate of Lindsay Clancy. You know, is she guilty or is she not guilty, not criminally responsible based on mental disease or defect? And it seems like pretty soon we're going to be heading into closings and verdict watch and all of that. I know you're going to be following the case, so I'd love to have you back on. Matt and Panic, thank you for stopping by Scandal and giving us your insight.
Thank you.
And that's the gap this entire story lives inside. The difference between the court of public opinion and the actual justice system. One runs on theory and engagement. The other runs on evidence and rules. A former prosecutor bought a house where 3 children died. The current prosecutor called him disingenuous in open court. That's all real. The rest is noise. The paperwork already knew.
We're going to continue to follow this case and bring you the latest updates right here on Scandal. And for complete live coverage of this trial, make sure to tune into Law and Crime, where we're live streaming it with gavel to gavel coverage. And that is where today's episode of Scandal leaves us for now. If you like what you saw and you want to see more or connect with me on social media, you can find me on places like Instagram at Sierra Gillespie.
Here's what to do next. Pull the pre-trial hearing from June 18th, 2026. Plymouth County Superior Court. Read the full exchange about the jury view. Then ask yourself one question. If the roles were reversed and a former defense attorney had bought a house at the center of a prosecution, would the DA's office have been as angry? Or would the paperwork have stayed closed? Go read it. Then tell me what you find in the comments.